Hello, I'm Sarah Wilson, and I specialise in helping directors who are struggling with imposter syndrome that has started in challenging relationships in childhood, workplace bullying, or challenging relationships with ex partners. Today, I want to talk to you about work life balance, which seems to be like the holy grail of getting that balance right between having a job that you are committed to, hopefully one that lights you up and one that you really enjoy, alongside being present for your family, having a work life balance so that you have a life outside of work, and making sure that you are living the life that you want to live rather than just work all the time, including in your thought process all the time as well. And we can all be guilty of kind of falling off the bandwagon with this, and I thought this would be a great reminder and put some things in place for you that you might find helpful. So, working hard is a work ethic that I always grew up with, that working hard was so important, and you had to work hard to get anywhere in life. You had to work hard in order to be happy. You had to work hard for anything to be worth the outcome. And I'm finding more and more that that is like a generational thing where there are more people thinking, I've got to work hard. And then by the time you put into that corporate conditioning about how you work as well, that you must work between the hours of 9 to 5, and then if you've got a certain level job you must also do tons of hours on top of that, and it isn't a sustainable way to live. So really what we want to achieve is the fact that when we're working hard, but we're working efficiently during that time, and it doesn't then bleed into other parts of our lives as well. It doesn't end up where you feel like if you finish at 5 o'clock when that's your contracted hours, that you've done this terrible thing and actually you must work full into the evening. And it may well be that your role means that you are quite responsive. So you may have periods of time where you've got to be able to answer the phone, but equally nothing can happen in some periods of time as well. And some of the things that I talk about today are going to be about inserting those things throughout your day and not necessarily feeling this push to go 9 till 5 and then till 10, 11 o'clock and what have you. It's really vital that we keep working to live, not living to work. People, in my experience, who are workaholics are usually avoiding something or haven't created a life outside of work that what they want to go and do. And really, if you look back at the time that you were working, are you going to regret not being in the office more, or are you going to regret not having created a life for yourself where you did exciting, enjoyable things, maybe had a family, or traveled, or what have you? Nobody really wants to be at work more, and if you feel that you are essentially working 24/7, then something isn't right somewhere. Inner balance and peace is what we're seeking. So it's great to have a job that's important. It's great to have a job where we feel like we're giving back, but that doesn't need to take over everything else. So having an inner balance and peace means that we need some time to be able to do the things that create joy in our life, that make us happy, that wind our brains down, that aren't so stimulating and what have you. And being able to almost compartmentalize, which I don't normally talk about as being a really positive thing, but actually in this situation, compartmentalizing is really important, because you need to be able to say, that's work stuff and that sits over here. And at the moment, I am with my family. At the moment, I am having this experience. At the moment, I am having some downtime, and I don't want to be bothered with thoughts of work kind of drifting in. Being present, be present in the moment more. So rather than thinking about that meeting that you've got on Monday, or what Derek said just before you left, or what have you, keep your mind in the present. I remember a few years ago, we'd surprised the kids and we took them to see Wicked in the West End. They were super excited. And by the second part of Act 2, my brain was gone. My brain was thinking, right, what's next? Which is the nearest exit? How do we get out of the theatre? How do I make sure that we get the right train on time? And all of these things, like I wasn't enjoying the moment, and suddenly I was really struck by, you've paid all this money to come and have this experience, but your brain's somewhere else. And at that moment I was like, right, let's really focus on Wicked. I absolutely love. So, you know, it wasn't like I was suffering through it. I absolutely love it, but yeah, my brain was somewhere else. And I know that that is born of having a busy brain, and part of that is related to work-life balance. One of the most important things is avoiding burnout. Now, somebody said to me, if your work doesn't feel like work, you won't achieve burnout. And I think you can stave off burnout for a lot longer, but I don't think just because you love your job that you can stave burnout based on the fact that you love it. The bottom line is we all have capacity in terms of our energy. We all have capacity in terms of our brain's ability to process and appropriately respond to various different things. Actually, having work-life balance means that we stay away from burnout. And I'm as guilty of this. Like, I love, love, love my business, but sometimes I need a reminder to go, just step back. You're too in it at the moment. Just step back and take a breath. And that's usually where things start to click in again a little bit more. Avoiding burnout is really important. Burnout is serious. Burnout is putting massive stress on your body. So we exist as souls inside our body, but we need our body in order to do the things that we're supposed to do on this earth. We need our body in order to function on a day-to-day basis and actually have some positive impact. Without a body, there's nothing that we can do. There's nothing that we can actively do. There's no soul-led work to be done because you don't have a body to act in. So it's important that you look after your body as much as possible and ensure that you are able to keep going. As soon as you get to burnout, you're looking at physical and mental exhaustion. And burnout then puts a massive pressure on many other things, your mental health and well-being, your heart, your internal organs, your immunity system, so many things that it can impact. So sometimes it might just show up in a bit of a cold. Other times it might show up in something more significant, like an infection of some kind. These are all signs that your body is saying to you, I'm not coping right now, and you need to do something differently. So it's important to take that time to recuperate. Have you rested enough to do meaningful work? So juggling. Juggling is a thing that in a fast-paced world, we all find ourselves doing. Like, how many people have thought, I must call that friend back. I must make that dentist appointment. I mustn't miss that. I must make sure I've got this in my diary. I must be at this meeting at this time. I mustn't overrun on this meeting because I've got to go and pick up the kids. Like, we're juggling all the time, but there is a way to just take a breath and take a step back and not feel that we're rushing around quite so much. Just little tiny changes, little shifts, which I'll talk you through in a bit. Showing up at work obviously is really important. You are employed, you have your own business, and without you being present doing the job that you are paid to do, or you being present in the role that's going to make you money, you're actually not going to achieve very much, because we do need our jobs. Our jobs are definitely important. They pay the bills, they pay for other experiences, all super important. Your job came with a contract if you are employed, and your contract didn't say anything about working 80 hours a week. If you set up your own business, again, it wasn't to work 80 hours a week. Probably if you came from corporate, it was to avoid that and make sure that you were working in a much more manageable kind of way that worked for you and worked for your family and made you feel a little bit like you had choice and freedom. 80-hour weeks are not something to be proud of. They are not a trophy to wear. They are incredibly bad for you. They are not sustainable, and they do not create happiness. There are so many studies out there that show that once you've got to a certain point, you are going to produce the square root of nothing valuable if you continue to push yourself. Lunch breaks, again, tons of research that shows lunch breaks are vitally important, incredibly important. But so many people don't take them, or they rush a sandwich down whilst they're doing some work at their computer, crumbs all over the keyboard, and not taking a proper break. And your brain can only cope with so much stimulation before it goes, yeah, no, I'm not on full power now, sorry. So 80-hour weeks are not something to be clear, to be proud of, not something to aim for, not something where you go, well, now I've got this level job, I'm going to have to work 80-hour weeks. The further you get up in a company, the more delegation you should be doing, the more you should be utilizing your team rather than taking on the day-to-day yourself. That is what you're there for the decision making. The next thing is being really, really clear on your role. Doesn't matter whether you are the cleaner or whether you are the CEO. Having clarity on what you are actually there to do is vitally important for a few reasons. One of them is about purpose, and feeling like you're part of a bigger machine can really help to empower you to do a great job. But one of the main reasons also is about being able to put boundaries in place. So you are probably likely to have a plan for the week, and then your manager comes bowling in with this, I need you to do this, which is generally urgent for them, not necessarily urgent for you. And then you have to replan your week, reprioritize based on this thing that's been brought to you. But what if not everything is really down to you or down to you and your team? Having clarity on your role means that you can say to your manager, actually, we're at capacity in the team at the moment. Either Jess in X team can help you if you want to go and have a chat with her. I'm sure she'd be happy to look at whether she can put that into her team. Or, which is more important to you, this thing that you gave us last week that you said was a priority, or this thing now, which would you like us to prioritize first? And put that decision onto your manager. One of the most powerful things that I think you can ask your manager is, how do you want me to say no to you? Excuse me. So your to-do list is unlikely to ever be finished. Your to-do list can continue and continue and continue. That doesn't mean that you have to try and get through every single thing every single day, because that's not possible, completely unrealistic, and will certainly lead to overworking and to burnout. So really what the most important thing to do is, and this works really well for me because I have a very busy brain, and it really helps me to work out what am I focused on next. So I have a list which my jobs go into. Intermittently, I'll go through that list and go, the bottom line is I'm never going to do that task. It's obviously not important enough for me because it's been there for ages. Let's get rid of it. So I'll go through and whittle down the list. But what I do every day is I take the first 3 jobs that I really need to do. And unless something new comes in and might need to shift those priorities, that's what I do. And I do all 3 before I move on to the next 3. And so realistically, all I'm focused on is three things at a time. And it's about prioritization. Which do I need to do today? Which is most important? So for example, I've had something on my list that it's important for me to do it, but actually, as of tomorrow, it's vital for me to do it because then I'm feeding back on Thursday on it. So I've got to do it. So sometimes these things will be quite so urgent and then become a little bit more important, a bit more of a priority. And those are one of the things that you're going to pick off the list. You need your headspace. Your headspace is really vitally important. Headspace means that you can make good decisions. Headspace means that you are going to work efficiently. Headspace means that you've got room for decision making. Headspace means that you've got room to get to know your team or have some interaction with them that's going to be really positive and boost them. It means that you can see the solution in that project. Headspace is really important. If you are stuck at your laptop, don't care where the laptop is, whether it's in the garden, in your home office, at your office, wherever, is not a sustainable way of living. You cannot cope with that level of stimulation for a really, really long period of time. Headspace means taking time away from your screen. It means taking time away from your desk. It means taking time away from whichever seated position you have been in, or if you've got a standing desk, whatever standing position you've been in, and just reset your brain. Go to the loo, make a cup of tea, listen to a song on your playlist, listen to 10 minutes of a podcast, take a break, because actually, when you take a break, you find solutions. And that is always my experience. I'm so sorry, a bit of a tickly cough today, and I don't know where from. So creating balance for your teams as well. This means that you need to be the protector and the gatekeeper. This is why it's really vital for you to have clarity on which part your team plays in the big machine of a company. Or obviously this is for people who have got employees and who are leaders of teams rather than business owners. But you are the protector and gatekeeper. I mean, to be fair, you can work this into your business as well. So if you have got somebody who's coming to you with something that isn't strictly what you do, or quite frankly, that you don't want to do, you need to protect and gatekeep your energies to be able to turn around and say, no, that's not something that I want to do, or that's not my remit, or which would you like me to do first, X or Y? You are the protector and gatekeeper of your colleagues. It is up to you to have a bird's eye view of what's going on with everybody in your team, so that you can then make decisions about what more you can take on and when you're at capacity. It is up to you as the leader of that team to be able to do that. You also need to think about the flexibility that you are giving to your team. So the flexibility that you are giving to your team to do things like go to sports day, leave early for a recital, their child has got doctor's appointments, don't make them feel bad about it. They already feel bad enough as it is. You don't need to add to that. So building that flexibility and allowing them to take time, it also starts with you. So if you've got family, but you never, ever, ever take time off to go and see your child's play, or you never take time off to go to parents' evening until after work time, that's probably not going to help in terms of the team feeling comfortable that you can be flexible. Like this whole 9 to 5 thing, unless you have a certain type of business or a certain organization that you're working for, the 9 to 5, in my opinion, doesn't really need to exist anymore. As long as people are getting the job done and you can trust them to do that, and you build trust in the team in an appropriate way, there is no reason why you can't say, do you know what, go and see your child's play. And then you can make decisions as to whether they need to make the time up because there's something pressing, or you just say to them, I trust you to be flexible with your hours to fit in with your life. As long as the job's done, we're not going to have a problem. So doing that yourself and being open about that being the case in your team is also going to give them work-life balance. Now, in my experience, if you give somebody an hour off, for example, they will be so super efficient that they will end up, and obviously this isn't for everybody, but they will end up paying you back more than that hour anyway. You are creating and curating loyalty. You are giving them that flexibility because you're probably going to get something back off of it. And if you don't get anything back, then, you know, if they don't do the work, or if they are shirking their responsibilities, then maybe there's an issue about the hire that you made. Knowing your team is really important. Knowing them, the personalities, excuse me 1 second. Oh, sorry about that. Knowing your team is really important. And I don't just mean from a work perspective, but really build a relationship with them, really create trust, really understand their strengths, their weaknesses, their desires about what they want for the future, their family circumstance, really get to know them. That will absolutely pay dividends on asking for their help, getting their involvement on something, getting their yes on something, them going out of their way to do something to support you that may be somebody that you don't take the time to know. I was doing some leadership training recently and was asking for feedback after one of the exercises that we'd done. and was quietly horrified, very quietly, didn't show it in the slightest. But somebody said, I've realized I only talk to my team to give them instructions. I don't actually know my team at all. And, you know, that's a really great learning moment to understand that. But please don't be that person who only really interacts with the team when you've got something to ask them to do. Know them, because they will make a massive difference to you, and you can make a massive difference to them, and work-life balance as well. Also, encourage self-led leadership within your teams. So if you have got a team of people and you have recruited right into the right areas, with the right skill set, with the right work ethic, and you then can rely on them to keep each other accountable. You can rely on them to have clarity over what the team is for and what you do. And you can ask them to be accountable to each other. So if you notice that Rob's very quiet, or he's not submitting work in the normal way that he would, then it's okay for somebody else in the team to go, "You're right, mate, is there a problem?" Or just to be able to check in with them and say, you know, still waiting for that to come, everything okay? And just helping to keep each other accountable, so that you are not wholly responsible for the day-to-day of your team. And I don't necessarily mean getting in there. I'm just meaning, if you can trust your team to crack on with stuff whilst you do the things that you are required to do as their leader, then actually, again, that frees up brain space. Don't get stuck into the tiny detail each day. Make sure that you are keeping that boundary and that barrier back. It's incredibly important for them, and it's incredibly important for you. Also, don't make yourself always available to your staff. It's really important that people can't just constantly go, "Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you?" Because actually, even if they say, "Have you got 5 minutes?" it's probably not going to be 5 minutes. So it's really important for you to be able to say, "Right, I've got this task to do, and between this and this, I'm not going to be contactable. So unless somebody's legs hanging off, please don't disturb me during that time." Or somebody collars you and you say to them, "I can't at the moment, but I really want to give you my attention. I've got a slot at 10 to 3. You can come and see me then." You know, again, that is allowing you the space to get on and do the work that you do. So it's about being more efficient and boundary led within work. But actually, all of that will slow your brain down and help you to feel like it's not pacing and racing when you're outside of work. So being accessible and having this door is always open thing, that kind of comes with a caveat. Like, you don't have to be available 24/7. You don't have to be available when you're supposed to be doing something else. It's not only meetings that mean that you are protected from interruptions from other people. It's actually about making sure that that is wound into the work that you're doing. And really important to remember those notes, either as a leader now or as a potential leader of the future. The next thing is about your relationship with yourself, which is what I normally start off with. But when we talk about work-life balance, most people are thinking about the work bit and how can I kind of do that differently. So time for yourself is one of the most vital skills that you can learn. You will always be spending more time with you than anybody else. That will always be the case. And so your relationship with yourself needs to be quite good in order to be able to do that. Well, not quite good. It needs to be strong. It needs to be a positive interaction. If you have time for so in my experience, I had quite a long time when I was younger on my own. I was kind of dating here and there, but there weren't that many serious boyfriends, and I lived on my own. But I didn't live on my own and learn how to be on my own. I lived on my own and filled my time. I liked to be busy. I liked to be doing things. I didn't really have a relationship with myself until my marriage had broken down. And that was when I was about 32. And it wasn't really until then that I understood the concept of self-relationship, and how without that, my self-worth was kind of in my boots at that particular point, and had been for a really, really long time. So the most important relationship that you will ever have is the relationship with yourself. you get given lots of cues on a daily basis about how you're doing and what's going on with you and how you're feeling and what have you. But most of the time we just ignore it. We don't kind of take on what is happening except in a really negative way. So we'll leap onto anything that's really negative and be like, oh yes, that must be the truth, and kind of bypass anything that's positive. So if it comes to burnout and that sort of stress related illness that you can get as a result of it, it's really about not knowing who you are and not listening to all the signs that you're not okay, not paying attention to the fact that something is not right with you and something needs to happen and needs to change. And even now, I can suddenly go, oh, I should have caught myself X amount of weeks ago. Right, what's going on? Getting much better at it now, and the gaps are getting smaller and smaller. But I know when there's something not right with me, and now I try to make sure that I'm doing something about it. So if you get the knack of communicating with yourself, which is something I help clients to do, you understand how to make decisions. You understand who you are as a person and what values you have. And then you almost have like a tick list of, these are my values. This decision that I've got to make, is it aligned with those values or is it not? And if it's not, it's probably going to be something that you want to say no to. And if it is, then that's a good decision to make because it is aligned with who you are. So many people talk to me about the hat that they have at work, the hat that they have at home, the hat that they have when they're with their parents, the hat that they have when they're at netball, you know, all of these sorts of things. You shouldn't be having lots of different hats for lots of different situations. Now, my caveat to that would be, for example, I can't be holding myself with my parents because I had a challenging relationship with my parents when I was younger, and that can sometimes what's the word I'm looking for? But it can rear its head again and be like, yeah, I'm still kind of here. So you have to put boundaries in place. But anybody that I think that I should feel comfortable with, say my workplace, etc., I'm just me. I'm just me, and that's really important. Like if you're going for a new job, don't put a mask on. Don't pretend to be brilliant at this and this and these kinds of values because the job and person spec said that they wanted that. You have to go into something where you can just be you, because you just can't keep up. Lying is tiring. Lying to yourself is exhausting, and it's not very easy to keep up a story of a person that you are not. It's not sustainable, and at some point you'll get found out. So just work out where being you would fit, and then that's where you apply. You don't need to be applying for things where you just have to be outside of that mold. So having that time for yourself is really vital. And if time by yourself, which it does for a lot of people, scares the biscuits out of you, you just need to start off with little periods of time at a time, 10-15 minutes, just with your thoughts. No music, no phone, no TV, no other stimulus, just yourself and maybe your journal and a pen. And just see what comes out. And at first, not a lot. And then quite jumbled. And then quite noisy. And then you start to be able to break through the noise. I'm going to ask for your trust on this, that this actually works. This is something that I do for myself on a regular basis now. Self-check-in is really important. Self-check-in gives me the opportunity to really sort of work out, where am I? What's going well? What's not going well? Where do I need to play a bit more? What changes do I need to make? And when I say it like that, that makes it sound like it's a really long, convoluted process, and it's not when you become a bit more automatic with it. But time for yourself means building or giving yourself the space to build a good self-relationship. A good self-relationship is the key to everything else. It is so super important. So if you are not a fan of spending time by yourself, then really I would encourage you to step outside of your comfort zone and do that thing that is really super uncomfortable for you. So I talked a few minutes ago about presence with your family, so presence out of work. So if you have got a busy job, you come rushing in through the door, you just about make it to sit up at the table for dinner or sit down at the table for dinner, you're not 6, and you're harassed. These things have happened at the day at work. you are feeling tired, you're a bit tetchy, one of the kids knocks their glasses over, you're a bit snappy, it's because you haven't moved from work mode into home mode. It's because you haven't taken your brain out of one and put it into another, because different parts of your brain are required for each of those different things. Different parts of your brain at work are required. It's really important that you do something to acknowledge the end of your day, that you do something that says, my working day is done now and I am going into home time. And whilst I'm in home time, I'm going to be present. And that doesn't matter whether you're doing that for your children, for your husband, for your wife, for your partner, for your pets, for yourself. Be present in those moments and don't feel that you've got to get caught up in what happened at work that day. So what I like to suggest is at the end of the day, you just take a few minutes to think about what went well today, what were my wins, what am I grateful for, what do I need to do tomorrow, what are my first 3 jobs of what I need to do tomorrow, just checking your priorities again and checking what you didn't get done that day. Sometimes something will be on your to-do list for a number of days because a new priority comes in and all of a sudden it's not the most important thing. So it may well be that you've had something on your to-do list for 3 days and you need to carry it over to tomorrow again, but that's okay. It just means that you've had to prioritize other things in front of it, and that obviously it's not as important as you thought it was, otherwise it would have already had to have been done. Choose to be present when you're at home. It is genuinely a choice. It is genuinely a choice, and you will miss it at times. You will forget. And then you just remind yourself, that's the old version of me thinking about work. The new version of me is going to pay attention to what happened today. That new version of me is going to pay attention to reading that book whilst I eat, or whatever it is, whether you're on your own, whether you're with your family. That presence is still required, and that presence needs to be chosen. It's not something that's going to be handed to you on a platter. It's not a skill that you're suddenly going to be able to do. It is something that takes conscious competence. So you need to be conscious that you're not doing it first, and then start to shift that and start to make new decisions about how you manage those thought processes. If you do have a super busy brain like mine, then by all means have a notebook or utilize your phone in order to make notes as you go throughout the day about things that you need to do, or thoughts or ideas that you've had. Do that, because if you are supposed to be being present with your family and this thought is niggling you, just doing something as simple as writing it down or tapping it into your phone can allow you then to leave that for later, because you've got it on a list there, so you're not going to forget. And one of the most important things about having a family and raising a family is also about making plans and creating memories with them. And your family can be you and a partner, it can be you, a partner, and children. You know, your family is your home unit, essentially, where there is more than one person. But what is the point of working? Like, whenever I speak to clients about why do you do this job? Why do you do a job? We always go through the same sort of peeling process, a bit further down, bit further down, bit further down. And ultimately, everybody wants to be happy, but they will tell me through that process that the way to make them happy isn't sitting at their desk all day. It might be making a difference if you're doing a role that's making a difference to other people. But most people are like, no, I'm in business because I want to make money to do X, Y, and Z. I want to have the time freedom to do X, Y, and Z. It's not about the job. It's not about the work that you're doing. The work that you're doing and the job that you do, both important things, but everybody is working to achieve something. That might be a nice standard of living. It might be a dream house. It might be a property abroad. It might be a nice car. It might be lots of little things that, you know, you need to get sorted, or it might be spa treatments each month. Whatever it is, it's not very likely that it's sitting at a desk that is the outcome that you are wanting in your life. It will be something like to know that I really helped other people, to know that I contributed, to have been able to have traveled and seen all the places that I want to see. All of those things are incredibly important in life. life shouldn't ever be just about work. And I accept that there are some roles where you are married to the job. And in those situations, you just need to take the moments when you can. That you just need to take the moments and take a step back and breathe and do things that spark joy here and there. Really, really, really important to make sure that you've got those. So that gives you a bit of an overview of work-life balance. It gives you a bit of an overview about showing up at work, so working hard whilst you're there, but then making sure that you've got the downtime. We've talked about creating balance for your teams, the importance of time with yourself, and being present for your family, and how that is a conscious choice rather than something that is kind of handed. So I'm also going to be talking about the underlying causes. But in the meantime, I just wanted to share with you about the services that I have in case this is of interest to you. So let me just get the right page and share the screen with you. Okay. Okie dokie. So, I can't get to the present now. Hold on. So these are the sorts of outcomes that I get working with my clients one-to-one. Actually, once we have had discussions and talked about what you're experiencing and the difficulties, I will then obviously be taking notes during those calls and then giving you a set of potential outcomes for you to agree ahead of us working together. But this just gives you an idea of some of the outcomes that my clients can expect. So feeling happier and more confident in your role, or stepping into a promotion whilst managing challenging family dynamics. So that is all about the juggle and the anxiety underlying in your role. It's not always a promotion. A lot of people that I've worked with have gained promotions. Some people have taken side steps to companies that work better with them. But managing the challenging family dynamics around it is obviously something that is a big concern for people. Protecting yours and your teams, if you're a people leader, time and energy for the right priorities, whilst maximising the time you get to do the things that you love with the people you love. So spending time with your family, spending time with the kids, doing things that actually bring you joy. Learning to trust in your intuition and decision making in your career and personal life by overcoming emotional abuse. So predominantly my work exists in the places where people have struggled with toxic relationships in their childhood, workplace bullying, or alternatively with ex-partners. When we say abuse, I don't mean that it has to be traumatic and PTSD. And in fact, for those sorts of circumstances, there are other options that would be better for you. And I'm happy to signpost. But overcoming those thought processes that were created by a toxic parent that may be still being reiterated now, your brain will always find the things that you really want to prove. And if that is a negative thing, your brain will always find you evidence for that. The next one is about taking back control with directions and momentum, so that you have a plan for how your career enables you to live the life you love. The next one is inspiring and leading your team to high performance. It brings you satisfaction and fulfillment as your personal life improves alongside, so that work becomes an element of you, not the main show. And then one of the loveliest things, which wasn't an intention, but I get lots of messages from my clients saying that they've shared something and what have you of what I've done with them, and it's had a positive impact on other people. So seeing that lovely ripple effect across your whole life as you inspire others to shift their mindset to bringing them and you inner peace and calm. And that is, you know, like I say, something so lovely about the offer is very much around being able to offer that to people and see the ripple effect of it going on as well. So we have 3 different levels. Each of the levels gets you 8 sessions of one-to-one coaching. And then you have options also for WhatsApp support, Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. There is also an option to have some luxury retreat days at the most beautiful spa in West Sussex. I think it's probably the most beautiful spa there ever was, but it's located in West Sussex. And there's options of payment plans and what have you there. So if you wanted to take a screenshot or a quick photo of that, I will leave it up there for a few seconds just to enable you to do that. And I would invite you then to reach out to me via the emails that I've sent with this on, or you can DM me on LinkedIn if we're connected, and let me know that you would be up for having a chat. Honestly, I'm not a particularly salesy person. So if you have a chat with me, it will be entirely up to you what direction that chat takes in terms of whether you would like to work with me or not, or whether you just want to explore some things. If you decide it's not for you, that is absolutely fine. There is no obligation at all. People who come and work with me are super excited to come and work with me, and me, them. It's a good fit, and those are all the things that we'll check. So let's go back to the content. Okay, so let's talk about the underlying cause. So it's all very well to talk about the practicalities of work-life balance, but the biggest thing that I've found is the underlying stories that actually lead to this limited work-life balance in the first place. So if you have a story of not being good enough just as you are, from whatever situations and experiences you have had in life, you are more likely to try and people please and not keep your boundaries. You are more likely to want to work hard and shine. You are more likely to seek validation from somebody else, like a manager and what have you. You are more likely to put yourself in a position where you're likely to get burnout, because it no longer becomes about the role. It no longer becomes about the greater good. It becomes about the pain inside you. And that is not helpful or healthy. You know, we've got a lot of conditioning to undo. If you can be flexible with your staff, like I say, you will get dividends from that. But the conditioning about hard work and how long you must work for, and really, you know, nose to the grindstone and what have you, it doesn't actually work in the same way that perhaps it should. I can't remember what the magic number is, but there is a certain point where if you work past that point, it is of absolutely no benefit whatsoever. You need to make a conscious choice of when you are working and work hard and effectively, or when you are lifing and to life hard. Have fun. Bring fun into your life and enjoy your experiences with other people. Enjoy seeing those new sights. Enjoy taking in that new place. Enjoy exploring all of the things that you might want to do. So I've just done a lot about travel, which obviously is mine, but there might be other things that are really important to you. So choose it. Again, going back to this hard work ethic, there's definitely an element of thinking around it's only worth it if I've worked really hard for it. And this honestly is something that I'm still working through myself. Like, working hard and then getting an outcome does feel really good. But actually, I'm starting to be at the stage where I'm like, not this hard though. Like, working is fine, and, you know, being focused and everything is fine. But yeah, not to this extent. There's no need. Also, some people thrive under stress, but there is definitely an exceedingly thin and faint line between the stress that gets you thriving and the stress that really, really leaves you struggling. Really leaves you struggling. So if you ever want to make change in your life in terms of your thought process, the first thing is to think about what you want instead. To think about, what do I actually want my life to look like instead? I want to go to this club on a Tuesday night. I want to go and do a floristry workshop. I want to do a new qualification, etc. And then when you work out what thoughts are in your way, see, for me, it's always about the awareness first. So before you can make any change, you need to be aware of where the problem is. And if you can, work out where it's coming from. And if it's an element of not feeling good enough and the stories that you're telling yourself in your head, then one of the best things to do is to become aware of what your negative patterns are. And then when you catch a negative pattern, you get to turn it around and say, but that's the old me, and let go of it. That's the old me. Let go. That's the old me is really, really, really powerful. It's not even a big thing, but once you get used to, and this does take getting used to, the fact that you can turn around and catch a feeling as it's happening and say, oh, hold on, that's the old me, and let it go, is really, really powerful. It doesn't need to be any more deep than that. It's okay to say to yourself, that's not us anymore. Because actually, did you know every 7 years, every physical cell in your body regenerates anyway? Not every single one at the same time, because that would be bonkers. Could you imagine? That'd be insane. But over that time, the longest time that it takes for a cell to regenerate in your body is 7 years. So obviously things like your skin, they're regenerating every day at quite a great rate. But yeah, every 7 years, you are a completely different person. So why not commit to making the changes? You know, where are you in your cycle of 7 years? So I'm getting near to the end of a cycle, because I will be 49. Oh my God, I'll be 49 in a couple of years. So, you know, if you are getting to the stage where you're like, yeah, I want to change cycles now, that's okay. That is absolutely fine. So I hope you found that useful. I hope there are things that you have taken from that you're like, yeah, okay, we need to make some changes here, and we need to put some things in place that are going to help us. But please, please, please do take some time to think about, what am I even here for? What is it that I want to achieve in my life? What do I want to look back and remember? Because if it's adventures, but you are tied to your desk half the time, then you're not going to achieve those things, and something needs to shift. Look forward to hearing from some of you, and thank you so much for watching.